excited, Star Foodies. Once again, as promised, I'm continuing to deliver Star Foodies Home Edition, and this time from her sort of home. I'd say her second home. Here's our Star Foodie of the week. It's Orlena Cain. Welcome.
Hello. Yes, my home away from home. I'm in the Mix 97 studios,
So
this is where I live every morning.
Right. And I know you're a morning bird like me. You get up super early.
I get up super early. My day starts at 3 a.m., Christina. So I get up at 3 a.m., which means I go to bed at like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't know that that's actually the quote-unquote best way to get your sleep in, to be more productive. And I'm not sponsored by Robin Sharma or anything, but he's got that 5 a.m. club concept. He's got that in a book. And then when Rohan, who's the director of Star Foodies and our photographer, when he told me that you're an early bird like me, I'm like, oh, I got to talk to her, because that means she's very productive.
Yeah. Oh, very. And you know what's funny? What's special about today? And we didn't select this day by any day whatsoever. We just chose this day. On this day, a few years ago, I did my photo shoot for my first book, Unlucky in Love, Confessions of a Die-Hard Romantic, in a Rohan Laylor's studio. So it came up on my timeline today, and I said to you, do you think that's a coincidence?
And I said, there are no such thing as coincidences. There's only coinciding events, which is thank you, Abraham Hicks, for teaching that after all these years. I think there's a reason that we've connected, and I'm just so happy to have you on the show because there's so many things to talk about. I went through the books you sent me to, and I love the fact that you're so raw. Oh, there we go.
Promo shot.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
That's his cover. That's Rohan's cover.
That's Fat Dog's Visuals, Rohan's studio, of course.
He's amazing.
He's amazing, DOP, director, celebrity photographer, and just person. He's an amazing person, and he's connecting us. And I really think eventually, like, the energies that are supposed to connect will connect. And when I was going through your books, I was like, wow, she's so raw. You're very transparent, very raw about your life, your journey to find love with yourself, and also your relationship and dating.
There's lots of them, girl. You gotta love yourself. And when I was 22 years old, 21, 22, I transitioned to Toronto. I left my hometown at 20, kind of passed through Coburg for a brief spot, landed in Toronto at 22, fresh face, small town girl, got right into promotional spokesmodeling, acting, modeling. I just immersed myself in everything. I was a Toronto Sunshine girl like 7 times in, 6 years or something like that. It was crazy. But I was everything from a Budweiser girl to Barbie for Mattel Toys. I was like a beauty for hire. They wanted somebody who was attractive, but also had the gift of the gab. And I quickly fell into promotions with Diana Williams Promotions in Toronto, where I really met the extent of the contacts in the entertainment industry. I really never worked a full-time job. I was always working in the entertainment industry, which means you're working different hours. I mean, really the flux. Sometimes you're up till 2, 3 in the morning. Then you got to get up for something else at 8 a.m. You just lived and breathed the city of Toronto. And it's so funny, but the time that I lived there, up until I was 38, Toronto got very small. And it was like so many different little nooks and crannies and people you would meet. You would start seeing everybody. And when they say Toronto is so big, but when you immerse yourself in such a way as I did, and you're in the entertainment industry, you're just meeting all kinds of people, all different times, in every capacity. And I got the extent of my experience through that way. So that was kind of what introduced me into the world of entertainment. And I met Rohan Laylor when I was about 25. So we've known each other a considerable amount of time.
Wow.
And at that time, I was promoting clubs downtown. I was promoting like R&B clubs and soul clubs. And I was like hanging out downtown while I was modeling and doing all this other stuff. But at the age of 28, I wanted to break into the industry of the world of hosting and the world of, television, and kind of get away from the one-dimensional things of like modeling and promotions. And I looked for different avenues, and it's very hard, as you know, for creating Star Foodies. When you're knocking on all these doors, people really don't open them up for you. You know, you have to create the door for yourself and open it. So when I was 28 years old, I created an online magazine, which at that time, I was 28, 29. It was called blogging. Okay. I'm 48 years old. This is 28, 29. We're talking 20 years ago. I had a best friend who worked at Chorus Entertainment. She was a big graphic designer. She said, hey, there's this thing coming called blogging, and you can do like your own interviews, and you can use this website as your media, enterprise, and use it to get into all these different places. So I drew the door called Sugarcane Entertainment, and I opened the door for myself, and I started interviewing and getting into movie premieres, big concerts, venues, interviewing celebrities. And I mean, I was working at Canadian Music Week. I was everywhere. And then at that moment, within the first year, I thought to myself, if I'm just doing this for me, that's great, but maybe I should do it for other women. And what ended up happening was I started to tap into the other women that I knew in the entertainment industry, and we started covering fashion, film, beauty, music, movies, everything. We would write to people and say, hey, it's Orlena from Sugarcane Entertainment. I see that the Low Millions are going to be at the Alma Combo tonight or tomorrow night. We'd love to come and interview Adam Cohen. How do we go about doing that? And da da da. So you got media accreditation by creating our own platform. And it was from that, Christina, that I started getting interviews, started really getting into that world. So much so that the Globe and Mail wrote an article on Sugarcane Entertainment, which was complimentary, but the title was Journos Use Feminine Wiles to Get Story.
Yeah.
Now, you would never hear that title directed to men. Male journos use their masculine assets to get story. But it wasn't about the title. It was about the fact that we were getting noticed. And that's all I cared about. And then from those girls, we're talking about Miss Canada. We're talking about girls who used to work for Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, girls that are now living in Paris, girls that are now owning their own fitness studios. All these women were so aspiring, but we were all kind of floating around on our own. But when we banded together, that's when things really kind of exploded for us.
And then what did you do after that, after Sugarcane?
Well, what I ended up doing was and that's the phone ringing in the studio. It's live. Actually, it's not live, but everybody's there. So I actually, after Sugarcane Entertainment, here's where life kind of got interesting. I was pursuing this, and I felt like, yeah, I'm getting my legs there, but there's really not that edge that I wanted. And so I sold everything I owned, and I moved to Ireland. Because I was pursuing Sky TV. I was there. I was living near Dublin. I wanted to, and of course, love brought me to Ireland. A guy there I was dating, he looked like Hugh Jackman, and I kind of like took my tail and I went to Ireland, and I was pursuing Sky TV, and I was pursuing stuff there. Love didn't last long, and I ended up coming back to Canada. So I came back to Canada, and this is the one thing I want people who are listening to know is that sometimes when you let everything go in your life and your hands are completely empty, that is when the most abundant things can happen for you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You have to let it go.
When I came back, I had 500 pounds in 2 boxes of clothing, art. That's all I had. And I had about $5,000 in the bank. And I came back from Canada. I was like, great, now what am I going to do? So I entered a second-year program at Loyalist College, at a college, got into second year of radio broadcast journalism, immersed myself in the TV world. I managed to get into the second-year program, skipped the first year, into the 7 months, wrapped it up, graduated on honors, got my internship at ET Canada, ended up landing a short-term contract as a chase producer at ET Canada. Quickly, within that time frame, boom, I interviewed at the Shopping Channel, and I got hired full-time as a TV host. So isn't that interesting?
It's very interesting, but I'll be honest with you, it's not at all surprising to me because we have a lot of similar characteristics and a lot of similarities in our stories. So for me, somebody like me that I can say I have a lot of faith, somebody like you telling me that story, I'm not like, oh wow, I wish I did that, because I did a lot of it. And so I love that you're sharing that with everybody here on the show nationally,
Yeah.
and then of course internationally for the YouTube version, because
Yeah.
that is not that uncommon, okay, for people that have the drive to do it. And
Yeah.
your story reminds me a lot of me too, and I love the fact that you're sharing that. And I want to share that to to everybody that's watching us right now, because
Right.
if you can see it, you can manifest it into reality. And I feel like
Yeah.
you manifested what you were really supposed to do, like thus far, knowing
Absolutely.
you for just a few minutes. And also, of course,
Absolutely.
reading your memoirs too. Where can we find those, by the way, for everybody watching?
Amazon.com and the Audible version. So if you want to listen to the books, you can listen to them on Audible. I have narrated them both.
Right.
But you know, working at the Shopping Channel and Sugarcane Entertainment kind of put me in contact with so many different people. For instance, at the Shopping Channel, I worked with Elvis Presley's wife, Priscilla Presley. I worked with Dustin Hoffman's wife, Suzanne Hoffman. I worked with Suzanne Summers, Wolfgang Puck, Ivana Trump, Tony Little, Cindy Ambule, who's Dawn Diamond from The Young and the Restless wife. Who else? Joan Rivers. Just so all these big celebrities.
So you were, obviously, for those who don't know, the Shopping Channel is a national network across the country, correct? Okay.
Right.
They have local feeds, I believe, in like a national feed, right? But basically, you can buy products that are seen on the show, and then it's basically you're the person on television saying, "Hey, buy this Thigh Master. You're gonna have thighs like Suzanne Summers."
Exactly. But this is the funny thing. Everything that I did in the past, when I was a promotional spokesmodel selling products for people and just being like, hey, try this out, or hey, have you seen this? And just freestyling, being in front of people. I landed the Shopping Channel job. My boss at that time, he gave me a pen and he said, sell me this pen. And I was like,
I've heard it.
No problem. I told him so much about this pen, where it was made, the love letters you could write, the notes that you could, I mean, everything and anything. Yeah. And he said, you're hired.
Yeah.
And I told him, thank you for hiring me. Anytime you ever need me, I will never say no. And in the close to 5 years I worked there, I never, ever said no. He called me. I'd be in the middle of a party somewhere because I was willing to sacrifice. And you have to be. If you want something and you get it in life, you have to then take it and really embrace it and show respect and gratitude for it, right? You have to be willing to sacrifice whatever it is you're looking for in life, because you don't just get to be an on-air television host with 1.5 million people watching you and you pick and choose the shifts that you want. I don't want to get up at 5 a.m. No, 3 o'clock is too early. You have to say, yes, no problem. And so while I was at the Shopping Channel, I also got a call from this radio station 11 years ago in August. And the guy that I work with, Sean Kelly, on the morning show, we met because the year before I was doing a press tour for the Children's Aid Society and promoting awareness prevention for child abuse prevention. Him and I had met the year before. The job came up here on air. He called me. I was in the Shopping Channel parking lot. It was a summer's day in August. He said, Orlena, would you like to come and work for us on the morning show? And I thought about it, and I thought, ooh, let me call you back. So I thought about it. I told him, give me till 3 o'clock. Thought about it. Managed to figure it out. I thought, okay, how do I keep this both? Okay, so for the first 2 years I worked here, I worked at the Shopping Channel in Mississauga, and I worked in Belleville at Mix 97.
Yeah.
So for 2 years, I would drive back and forth. I would work till 11 o'clock at the Shopping Channel and then drive back here, stay with my aunt, and come into work for 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Well, once again, it doesn't surprise me, because knowing the formula of successful people, and once again, we have a lot of similarities, but this interview is about you, not me. So once again, the formula of successful people. And if we listen to people like Abraham Hicks, or read the book Napoleon Hill, or Robin Sharma, like I said before, it's these characteristics that you are describing right now that is really the formula of success. waiting for it to happen. No, we have to take massive action, which is, I feel like what you did. And I love how this interview is turning all about the law of attraction. I hope everybody
Yeah.
is enjoying it at home. That wasn't my intention, but I think that it's just naturally rolled out like this. And if we can give
Yeah.
people like hope, especially in this very like unique time, which I'd love to talk to you about that now too. So obviously we're living in a time, we're doing the home edition together here. We're doing our virtual interview. You're still in studio at Mix 97. So
Yeah.
tell me about how that's working right now in this time in the world where we're supposed to keep physical distance and not go to work.
Well, you know, Christina, your job on the Weather Network, we are, lo and behold, we're essential workers. When the world gets unplugged, radio, television, those are your ways that you go to plug in to find out what's happening in the world, what's going on. Are we going to be safe? Are we going to be okay? And it's the comfort of those people that you see every day on TV, that you hear every day on the radio, and you're alone in your home. We bring comfort just hearing our voices and letting people know we're in this together. We're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. And for us, it's been slimmed right down. Okay. We are blessed to be able to still be working. And the community that I live in has been very, very connected and sending us emails and calling us on the phone and saying, thank you so much for, staying connected with us. And, there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel. But when I think about kind of where I came from and where my Oma came from, my Oma is of German descent. She was raised in a little town called Heidelberg, Germany. And my Oma raised me with the first 4 years of my life. So she really kind of instilled with me these World War II values. And about gratitude, about you really minimizing how you live your life, home cooking, taking care of yourself, budgeting, not overspending, all of these things. And, that was, 100 years ago. And now here we are living in more luxury and having more abundance. But once everything is stripped away, it's still those same traditional values that we have that they have.
I was talking about this interview is just so irony after irony. I was talking about that with my mom because you're first generation Canadian. Are you first?
Yes.
Oh, right. So those of us who are products of immigrants, or in some cases even refugees, but being first generation Canadian, we really, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I know people in my community really grew up with those values where you understand the value of ABC because the person giving it to you didn't have it. So it's of immense value to you. And now being stripped down, I think it is those people that have the less fear, number one, because faith, and number two, because it's not shocking. It's like, hey, I grew up in a really similar circumstance because the time right now with these draconian measures, I'm going to call them draconian measures because I feel like it is some type of war. You've got to stay isolated, right? You've got to stay away from people. And so I love the fact, that's what I wanted to get to when you're talking about the community, how they're giving you that response. And I wanted to know, you already answered it pretty much, is the response that you're getting. Are people saying, thank you for continuing to do this. You're making us feel, a little bit safer, a little bit that comfort level. So they're really giving you that energy to continue because it is essential.
We're all connected. And I'm going to share with you this. It's such a cute picture.
Okay, so tell us
this
about
is that is, if you can see, that is my Oma and I sitting on the couch.
Oh my God.
She has me dressed in German clothes. I have pretty much a lederhosen on, okay?
I love it.
It's like Germany never left her.
I love it.
She dressed me in these little outfits, so cute. And I dedicated actually this book.
That.
Oh yeah, this was the other one I wanted to show you. That's her when she left Germany and came to Canada.
Wow, I love that. She's so stylish.
She was stylish.
Are you kidding me?
She wouldn't go out in her pajamas.
High, dress coat, high-waisted with the belt. I could definitely see myself wearing that.
She looked like a Russian spy, but her hair was always like this. Back in those days, you had nothing, but you never looked like you didn't have anything.
Right.
You looked amazing. And I dedicated my first book to her because it was those life lessons and kind of in both books where I kind of share how I've lived life.
Yeah.
how I traveled to a big city at such a young age, having no parents with me, and the world became my family. I would embrace women that I met along the way and people that would befriend me. That I was really lucky in a lot of ways that my good naturedness and my, even though I had that small town vibe,
Right.
I met so many amazing people. Linda Leatherdale from Toronto Sun, her husband Ian McDonald. Are you familiar with Linda Leatherdale? She's the
No.
money columnist
No.
in Toronto Sun. Her husband Ian McDonald was one of the first men that I met and kind of took me under his wing and was like, all right, kid, this is what you need to know about the city. And I was like, okay, good to know. But all the people that are along the way, if you embrace the right ones, we all are like a small village, right?
Well, the
And
entertainment
it was,
industry for sure.
yeah, I mean, people remember, and you have to treat people with respect. And like I said, I share a lot of stories in here about different artists and different people I met along the way. I've changed everybody's name because it wasn't about defaming anybody. It wasn't about, shedding a light on somebody and saying shaming anybody.
Yeah.
It was about telling the stories of kind of my life, how they influenced me, what happened, the trials, the tribulations, how that shaped me.
Yeah.
And it's really about forgiveness. Both of the books are really about forgiveness. It's about allowing yourself to make mistakes and for that to be okay. And for you and I and everybody else to be okay with each other making mistakes and to say to each other, it's okay. You made a mistake. We can move on from it. You can learn from it. Instead of almost like mistake shaming and fail shaming people and be like,
I'm so anti that. And it's like, I love that you talked about that too. And by the way, the books, for those just tuning in, I mentioned it earlier, they're just so candid. And I find like you're very relatable. She talks about her trials and tribulations with men quite openly. And I love the fact about the sexting and all that, because you know what, that's become almost accepted. And
yes.
I even didn't even like the word using almost, because I think it has become accepted in both terms, accepted and expected. So right. I follow one of my favorite relationship coaches, Matthew Hussey. I'm just giving him a plug.
Matthew Hussey!
Because he's
Jay Shetty, Matthew Hussey, they're amazing.
They're just so they're really sort of, I would say, demystifying a lot of that stuff. So hold up that book for me one more time with the books, because like if you have a chance to grab Orlena's book, and we're also going to do a giveaway too, right?
Yes, yeah, we are. We got 5 copies.
Okay, perfect.
Give away.
We'll give those details later on, but like if you can grab one of those, I found, for me, when I was reading them, I found it therapeutic. I felt like it was therapy for you, because again, they're so candid, and I thought if you could help anybody by writing this, that's the thing. We're helping one another. And what you were saying about the failure is awesome, because I really feel like it's just nudging you to get to the right direction. So I think, like you said, everything you've done, Orlena, has brought you to where you are right now, and you're in a great place.
Exactly.
So
I'm in a great place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've taken everything. So on top of doing everything else, I have delved into the world. 9 months ago, I delved into the world of narration. So I have narrated over 60 books in less than 9 months for Amazon's Audible feature, and I narrate about 2 to 3 books a week. So I bring other people's works of their artwork, their life's purposes, bedtime stories for kids, meditation, fitness, lifestyle, self-improvement, self-development, all these books. I bring those to life for other authors, and I love being in the studio. I love the opportunity to be able to use my voice for the greater good, which is what I've always wanted to do. Yeah. If you open your mouth, let it be something of purpose and of use, and let it be something that is good for others. You don't want to have a vocabulary or thoughts or words that are like junk food, that have nothing of purpose, substance. That don't do anything to help you, that don't do anything to help yourself. The words you speak to yourself on a daily basis, your thoughts, they should all be with purpose. They should all be with mindfulness, right?
I'm so with you on that. I read a lot of ancient philosophers, and I just studied that growing up. But like, some people speak because They just want to hear the sound of their voice, and other people speak because they have something to say. So there's a big difference there, and I think we've both encountered both working in entertainment. There's both sides of that.
Oh, absolutely.
I wanted to
Absolutely.
talk. I've been following you on Instagram, and I've been seeing the yoga, and we have that in common. So
Yay.
I'd love for you to tell our viewers here about what you're doing with yoga and the type of yoga, because that's also important too.
Oh, absolutely. So, on my journey of sort of self-healing and self-awareness and self-discovery, I delved into the world of yoga, which I'm in process of training and will be going for my yoga teacher training certificate in September. So, I've enrolled in school. And I'll be learning various styles of yoga. I really do love Ashtanga yoga.
Okay.
I also love Hatha yoga. They're very fluid types of yoga. And it's funny, but the whole world, if they were to embrace more of the yoga and more of meditation, we would really be able to heal more of the things within ourselves and connect with who we are as people.
Absolutely.
And it's through that meditation and through that yoga that I have even got into a more heightened awareness about my relationships, the people that are in my life, what I want from life, what is important in life. And yoga really does center you. On a daily basis, I practice, I vow. There's a really cool Japanese word, and it's Kaizen, Kaizan, K-A-I-Z-A-N. Have you heard it? Kaizen. Kaizen is a word that to describe small changes. And it was introduced in Japan into the manufacturing business Toyota. And Toyota manufacturers, they implemented this word Kaizen, which means small changes, into their work structure. And as we introduce those small changes into our life's work structure with yoga, every day I try practice a move that I know is really difficult and that I'm going to have trouble doing. But every day I embrace the uncomfortableness of that position, of that pose, do it knowing that if I fail, it's okay. If I fall down, it's okay. If I don't land it today, that's okay. Because every single day I practice that particular pose till I master it. Within 30 days, it's done. But if I were to practice it and practice it and practice it for an hour one day and then give up and say, oh, I can't do it, it's just not working, then I would have missed out on all the little incremental moments of every single day that we all do little things to create big change. And I think now in today's world, it's those little changes that we can do with our diet, with our health, with our mindfulness, with the words we use, with our relationships, how we speak to people. Little tiny changes every day can make big things happen in our world, right?
Absolutely. I've had similar experiences. I study Bikram, not Ashtanga, but
Right.
It's all about the breath, centering yourself, and the balance, which, the masters will tell you, yogi masters. But I love that you also mentioned about, of course, diet and lifestyle, because I'm sure you know, Orlena, this show is really centered about diet and lifestyle. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you maintain your specific diet, because you've got I'm going to call it a wicked schedule, because for me, it's one of my faves. I think that time, people who practice the 5 a.m. club, we know when you wake up that time and you go to bed early, it is the absolute most productive system. So I want to know about your diet now. What are you eating? When are you eating? All this before we get to your secret recipe.
Girl, listen. First of all, if you come into my kitchen, my pantry has a plethora of healthy, vital nutrients and nutrition in it. Things that I never thought that I would ever have in my pantry. Coming from a farm, small town, where it was meat, potatoes, and now I have more of a pescatarian lifestyle.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And really focusing on nutrition and making sure that everything in my diet is sustainable. I posted a really great video, and I share a lot on my Instagram, different recipes that I've used, as well as ways in which you can boost your immunity and boost your health. But in my arsenal pantry, I have everything from psyllium husks to chia seeds, flax seeds, cacao, cocoa nibs, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, cashews, almonds, walnuts, just coconut oil in an abundance amount.
Yeah.
Everything in my kitchen and in my pantry is has to do with nutrition, and vital nutrients are what we all need to be eating more of. If you're cooking food, it's really important to add in those spices. You don't have to cook your fruits and vegetables in a bland way. Embrace the Middle Eastern culture where, cumin and turmeric and cardamom and and cinnamon
Ancient.
and all these very rich spices are in a lot of vegetarian foods from, Eastern principles, Middle Eastern principles. And all those have anti-inflammatory properties and really healthy and healing and warming and vital stuff. So it's nutrition for me is the first and foremost, because it's all about the energy of food.
Right.
When I look at my grocery list, I kind of pre-plan all my menu for the week. What I'm going to have for lunch and dinner is pretty much where the thing is. Everything from like a zucchini casserole, which has quinoa and zucchini and layers of like so much goodness in it, to like a sweet potato mash that has sweet potato, cauliflower, and then cauliflower crumbles that have been turned into almost like a meat flavor. It's very achievable to start cooking whole foods again and to cook foods that are nutrient based.
Right.
Without this, I would have no energy.
Oh, absolutely.
I cannot sustain myself on a cheeseburger and a muffin.
Oh, no. I mean, first of all, we eat for nutrients for the body. That's the first rule of thumb. People like us who have that belief, that's how we eat. So you wake up at 3:30 in the morning.
Meditate.
3? Okay, so you wake up at 3, you meditate. What's the first thing you're eating before you head to the studio?
Actually, I don't eat anything until about 6 o'clock. So I go to bed at 7. My last meal is at 5. So I make sure it's almost like intermittent fasting. I make sure I have a good solid 12 hours of not eating anything to allow your body to recharge and cellular regrowth and do what it does best while you're sleeping, right? So when I come to work, I make sure I pre-pack my breakfast, actually. So it's very achievable. I take a big smoothie cup. I stuff spinach in there, coconut milk, maybe a little cashew milk, berries, cinnamon, vegan protein, banana, sometimes avocado. I just chock it full. This is whatever I can find. Shredded carrot, all of it. Put it in there, blend it up. Take that to work with me, along with gluten-free and vegan bread with almond butter. And that is pretty much my go-to breakfast every morning, unless I make like a quinoa oatmeal or do some sort of overnight soaked oats, which everybody's loving, with fruit and cinnamon. I try to keep it pretty simple during the week, because when you get up at 3 a.m. and you got to leave at 4 to come into the studio to do narration, and then I start my work shift at 5. So I always do an hour of narration before I even start my shift on air as the morning show host.
Right.
So cup of black coffee, girl, and it's the best for stimulating stimulating your digestion and getting everything moving. Big glass of water first thing in the morning. Take my supplements. Black cup of coffee, which is pure coffee with no or organic always. And then I'm working at 5, and then at 6 o'clock when I have a break. Have my breakfast.
You have your breakfast. So you're working throughout the day. Are you then going home and cooking for your next meal?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I pretty much do that, or make sure I have stuff like Saturday and Sunday is a great way for you to use those days as your prep days.
Yes.
Look at a menu, right? Like I always say to people, don't think of menu planning for the whole week. It's very overwhelming for even the best people. Even for me, I do not know what I want to eat next Friday. I have no idea. Plus, if you want to keep whole ingredients in your refrigerator or in your home, you need to make sure that you're buying every 3 days, every 4 days. 3 days is good. I mean, wouldn't it be great? I mean, in Europe, where you could just go down to the fresh produce.
I was just going to say that, the farmer's market, because I don't know if people know this, but we'll educate them here. The reason the items here have such long shelf lives is because they're full of preservatives, right? So you want it, like you said, every 3 days, you're gonna throw it out, get the new item. So you're going home, you're tired, you're cooking. So give me like a typical meal that you would cook before we get into your favorite recipe.
Okay, all right. Well, like I said, the typical meals that I try to share, the real go-to grains for me or the go-tos for me are always your beans. So your lentils, your lima, your kidney, your chickpeas. I always make my own hummus. But
Yes.
quinoa is a really high protein and a very diverse grain, ancient grain. Egyptians ate it. If it was good enough for the pharaoh and the queen, it's good enough
I
for
always
us.
say that
We need to delve
ancient thinkers, if it was good, if it worked back then, it's going to work now.
exactly, right? So that particular quinoa, one of my favorite recipes is this zucchini sort of casserole thing where it's shredded zucchini. It's items that I can quickly sort of mix together in a pan
Yeah.
and kind of do in a pan and then throw it in the oven and pull it out and have at least 3 or 4 meals there for that. So
Right. Okay.
it's really kind of there's another really good thing like a carrot cashew bake, which is another wonderful shredded carrots. My food processor is my best friend. If you don't have a food processor, buy one, ladies, for the love of God. It will save you time,
Yeah.
and it just shreds all your vegetables. You can create anything with it. Zucchini casserole really part, but my quinoa is my go-to one because you can make it spicy. You can make it into a dinner or a lunch. You
Yeah.
can create a wrap and
Mm-hmm.
have it in there, or you can turn it into a breakfast food for
Okay.
cinnamon and raisins and nuts and coconut milk and cook it up and eat it. It's amazing. It's
Wow.
really, you can do anything with whole food.
Yeah.
And with whole food, I just like to say, if we can move more towards single ingredient foods, I've studied a lot, I've read a lot about nutrition, and although I'm not an expert, I know what works for me, what gives me energy, what
Yes.
keeps me fueled, why my skin looks good without makeup on. Don't wear foundation, don't wear powder. You know, it's kind of like mascara and lip gloss. And it's about treating yourself good because beauty does come from the inside out.
Right.
If you
Absolutely.
feed your body well, the skin cells will look good. If you give yourself good citrus nutrition, you're going to help be able to fight free radicals. If your food has vitamin A, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, lots of good free radical fighting and immunity boosting foods, which is really the basis for how I eat. You're going to have energy. You're going to have vitality, and hopefully going to live a long time.
Yeah, you're gonna feel good, you're gonna look good. And so I know you mentioned before that you follow that pescatarian type diet. Pescan coming, of course, from the Latin word pesco, which is fish. So tell us a little bit about that before you get into that recipe. Are you cooking different kinds of fish? Because of course we've got the fatty fish oils that are so good for us, right?
Right. No, 100%, Christina. And because I live right near Lake Ontario, and for us really on Toronto, right down along the water through to Kingston, we're all living close to water. So fish should be a part of your diet, and it doesn't always have to be salmon, right? Rainbow trout is
Okay.
one that I absolutely love. It's
Yeah.
one that's you can get local, and you can get it out of the lakes, as well as halibut.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, halibut is amazing. Rainbow trout, I try to stay away from the other sort of strange. Pickerel is a wonderful fish,
Yeah.
but these are predominantly like Canadian pickerel, rainbow trout, halibut. These are things that you can get locally. You don't have to get salmon because unless you find a good source, a lot of it is farmed
Sure.
and not the best for you.
Yeah.
So try to find those fresh fishes. And what's great is it's fishing season. I can, resource a lot of guys that I know who love to fish. Pretty easy to get fish locally. I mean, I know how women back in the mid 18th century probably lived, right? They're like, little honey for some fish, but it's.
I've got a joke about that, and I'm keeping that to myself.
It's so fish is really a viable thing, and if you get it from a good place, then you can get it in a sustainable way that is not going to hurt the environment or create harm to yourself.
Yeah.
Really,
it's a great, just gonna throw that in there. It's also a great trick for an alternative protein that keeps you nice and lean. I find that myself too, and I'm traveling and I'm having an abundance of fish that really does help to keep me lean. Okay, Orlena. Right. The time has come. So it's the time in the show where you give me the recipe. I'm going to head into my virtual kitchen, of course, with our home edition. We're going to try and remake it. So tell me what it is and the inspiration behind this.
Well, I wouldn't be a good German Irish girl if I did not give you a potato recipe. I would, my passport would be revoked. I wouldn't be able to travel to those countries anymore. So my recipe is, are you ready for this? It's a very cute word, Kartoffelpuffer. Can you say it?
Kartoffelpuffer.
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 Which is a German Kartoffelpuffer, which is a first dish I ever learned how to cook from my Oma. Kartoffelpuffer is a potato pancake.
Okay.
And it is done in a particular fashion that is very German manufactured. It's unlike anything else. And I would remember as a little girl with my Oma, she would give me the raw potatoes and she'd say, now dear, you need to sit at the table and shred the potatoes for me. So I'd shred them and she'd say, make sure you don't shred your fingers in the potatoes. And I'd say, okay, Oma, shred those potatoes, sit there at the table. I'd be like 5, 6 years old. She'd say, do you want Kartoffelpuffer? Yes. Then you have to do the potatoes. I'm like, okay. Oh my gosh, it was so worth it. And I think that anybody that tries this recipe, since there has been an overabundance, did you hear about all those potatoes that were going to waste in warehouses because they aren't able to get them for French fries?
I did.
French fry, schmench fry. Kartoffelpuffer. That is what you need.
That is so inspiring too. So potatoes are, I love the fact that right now we're also doing frugal and fabulous recipes. I'm really focusing on that. It's not an expensive recipe. If you don't have potatoes, you can get them really easily. Hopefully you have them somewhere in a cool place, because I have learned that from my chef. You got to keep them in a cool place. So basically they're potato pancakes, right?
Potato pancakes, they're done in such a way that they can be made into, they can be served with either an applesauce, and you could have maple syrup on it if you wanted, or fresh apple on the side. Or you can go the other route where some people kind of eat it like they would French fries. They do the malt vinegar and the salt with some sour cream on the side.
Okay.
So it's kind of, it's weird to eat a potato with maple syrup, but until you try it, which I have many times, it is so good. So I don't know what your chef is going to do with the recipe. So many different ways.
I'd love to leave it up to the chef and like give him the options.
Yes.
So of course, after the commercial break, I'm going to be virtually cooking with Chef Jeremy, only this time I don't have to help. I'm just hosting, because usually he's got me there dicing and cutting. So this time, just hosting and watching him. I'm going to give him the options, but just to something what you said about maple syrup. Of course, we're in Canada. We have the best maple syrup in the world. I can literally put maple syrup on anything. So the natural one, right? Like the good stuff without all those added preservatives. I remember literally when we were in school, like learning, going to those sap trees, right? And getting the maple syrup. Remember that?
On the ice cone. Listen, you don't know Canada if you haven't had maple syrup. And when you visit a sugar shack, it is like, I guess that in Greece it would be like if you go to Greece and you don't have ouzo, you just weren't there.
Oh, the audience will just love that you said that. That and olive oil, right? Because we have pure, amazing olive oil. So
you went to Greece and you didn't have ouzo. It's like going to Mexico and not having tequila. It's like going to Germany and not having Alpenbitte. It's like, what is Alpenbitte? It's a digestive drink. Kids drink it, and it actually doesn't taste as good as ouzo, let me tell you.
Oh, I love that. I love anything that helps with digestion.
No, that's what I say. I have to have ouzo. It's for digestion.
Exactly. Or like limoncello, bring it on. Or like moonshine, because it helps us, right? So
yeah.
Okay, so I am going to head to the kitchen after this, Orlena. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this interview. It's been so enlightening.
It's been so energetic.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Hopefully we'll do it again once this social distancing, or rather physical distancing, has disseminated, and maybe I'll pop by the studio and say hello if you open the door for me.
Welcome. I welcome you into our Mix 97 studios at any point in time. You can be on our morning show since you're such a morning person. You'll fit right in.
Oh my God, I love that. I'll say hello. Say hello to all your viewers with we'll double whammy them with our energy.
It will be amazing. You'll be perfect.
Okay.
You're hired.
Oh, thank you. You heard it here. You saw it here on Star Foodies.
Sagapo, Christina.
Okay, what's that? everybody to our second episode with Chef Jeremy at his home. Thank you so much for having us once again, Chef.
Great to have you in the house again. And don't mind my dog walking around while we're doing this.
Oh my God, I totally love Yum Yum. So for those of you who didn't check out our bloopers and our extended version on YouTube, we've got a few bloopers with Yum Yum. You've never seen a public... He's a chow chow, right?
He's a chow chow.
Okay, he's a chow chow. And I think he was featured on another network as well. We'll keep that secret for another time. Okay, so I just finished interviewing Orlena Cain, who had amazing energy, who she said she also knows you from the Toronto scene, right?
Yep.
And she's so excited for you to make her dish. Now, I do not remember the German word, but it's potato pancakes.
It's potato pancakes,
okay.
Yeah.
So tell us what we're going to need for this, Chef.
For sure. So I'm going to be doing a duo of potato pancakes. So I'm doing sweet potato with red onion, and I'm doing a regular potato, a white potato with red onion as well.
Okay.
And adding in my favorite Caesar rim seasoning to it to give it some nice flavor as well. And then we're going to be dressing them up and making them fun.
Okay, so they're not sweet. These are more savory.
They're more savory, exactly. So I'm doing sort of, as I always do, I'm doing my own twist to it. But I am keeping it to the exact same way that the Germans make it, which is really fine bits of potato. So they grate them really finely versus rosti, which is the Swiss version, which is wide pieces of potato and super flat.
I think I'd go for your first one too, with the thinner.
Yeah, it's good. It's really, it makes it nice and light, and they cook up a lot faster. They're beautiful.
Oh, I'm so excited to watch you cook and host and not help you today.
All is good. All is good. So yeah, we'll start. So when you're doing it with the sweet potato, you're going to want to peel the sweet potato. And the reason why you want to do this is because the skin is a lot thicker and heavier and more coarse than a white potato.
Okay.
So with the white potato, I just leave the skin on and just grate it from there. But what I am going to be doing is, as I said, I'm going to be going for like a thinner mesh on the grater. Just so that they hold together really nicely.
Okay, so basically we should use a grater for this.
Absolutely, yeah. Don't even try and attempt it with a knife. So definitely use a grater. Okay. And so I'm using the fine mesh on mine, and yeah. Now I'm just gonna start grating. Okay. But the biggest thing is it's really sharp, so you really want just joking. You just want to make sure. You want to make sure.
I've got a Band-Aid in my purse, but we are not close together.
No, it's totally cool. I actually did that on live TV one time and took off like a good chunk of my thumb, and it was like blood all over the place.
Oh my
God!
God! So
you want to be watching when you're grading.
That I would like a tip. So there you go. Basically, there's no tip except just be careful, or.
Absolutely, yeah. Be careful and grab it at the bottom. A lot of people like to get like really close to the blades. Do not do that. So yeah, just kind of watch what you're doing, but you can see how fine it actually is. So it's nice and light and fluffy, and that's what you want. So I'm just going to, and you want to do enough. I mean, the recipe that you're going to have is enough to be able to do 4 cakes. Okay. And so you're going to have basically one sweet potato will be able to do 4 cakes.
Oh my God, frugal and fabulous. Just how I like
Absolutely.
it.
I'm just going to wash this guy off, and then we'll get onto our white potato. Okay. So the reason why I'm using white potato instead of like Yukon is because Yukon just has way too much liquid to it. And it just doesn't cook up nicely because, as you're going to see, I've got to make sure that I get all of the liquid out of these potatoes. So I'm going to be using some cheesecloth to do that.
So the way you get the liquid out of the potato is how? With a cheesecloth?
So that is the key. You have to actually work to get the liquid out. So a lot of people will use like a towel or paper towels to try and press it through like a colander. But because we're doing really fine potato, it'll just slip through the colander. So you have to use cheesecloth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So because if they're mushy, they won't cook.
Okay, so the only time I've seen my mom use a cheesecloth is when she's making homemade tzatziki, like that garlic sauce.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, yogurt and cucumber with garlic, essentially. So
good. Just if you're on a date, you got to make sure both of you are eating it.
Okay, it's so good, like sometimes, but you both have to eat it. Not one
That's
person.
right. So there we go. So we've got our potato. I'm just going to wash my hands for the billionth time today. And then we're going to work. So I've got my cheesecloth already cut out. So I'm going to put it into a bowl, dump in my sweet potato, and then just bunch it up and squeeze. See all the water?
I would have never thought there was that much water.
There's a ton. And so, yeah, there's a ton. And you really do have to squeeze it like crazy in order to be able to get all the liquid out.
Chef, does the white potato have as much water?
It actually has more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's got a lot more. So I'm just going to dump this out because I don't want our white potatoes looking like sweet potatoes. I don't want any of that orange juice getting in there. So another cloth. And I'm just going to dump that in. And this has got an absolute ton of liquid in here. See, it's already coming through. So if you twist it, it also helps to keep the pressure on, and then just squeeze it all out.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's the same thing if you're making latkes or if you're doing rosti. It's the exact same thing. You just got to press it. But as I said, because we're using such fine grating, you do have to use like a fine mesh material to be able to squeeze it out.
Okay.
And if you do use, I mean, you can use an actual like kitchen towel, but then you're going to be scraping it off the kitchen towel because the starchiness of the potato is going to stick to it. So that's why cheesecloth is the best thing.
Okay, cheesecloth. Grab one while we can.
That's right. So here we go. So next, I'm going to add in my eggs. So the egg is going to help to bind the potato together.
Okay.
So I've got 3 eggs, and all we need is the yolk, and then we're going to beat the yolk.
Oh, perfect. So we keep the white part for our facials because it's really great for the skin, and
That's
then
exactly
we
what you
just.
do.
I've got a mixture in my fridge right now. Don't laugh. Or you can laugh. That's okay. And then I would give you the yolk, chef.
Well, there we go. Thank you.
We're such a perfect match.
We are. I always learn such great beauty tips from you. So we're just going to beat up the egg. And you just want to get it so it's really well mixed and nice and light. So depending on how much you want to do, you know, I mean, generally it's like 1.5 yolks for every 2 patties that you're going to be doing.
1.5 yolks.
So I'm just going to dump it in liberally. And I'm going to let that sit so that it kind of coagulates. And I'm going to chop up the onion. Don't need a ton of onion, just enough to give it some flavor and some texture.
Okay.
And I'm using red onion just because it's not that strong in flavor. And just going to do a fine cut here. And chop it up. These are really, really tasty. I mean, my grandmother used to make these all the time when I was growing up.
That potato pancakes?
Yeah, potato
Oh, wow.
pancakes. Yeah.
See, when she was telling me, I was thinking there needed to be milk to make them fluffy or something, but that's not accurate.
No, it's to make them as fluffy as you need them to be, you got to get the water out. That's the only thing that makes them heavy.
There you go. That's a secret right there.
So there we go. So I'm just going to add in my onions. Cool. And then I'm going to add in my Caesar Remake. So this is such a great way to be able to do a quick seasoning on anything.
That's amazing.
So I'm just going to throw that in there. Okay, so let me get our tray. And so I've got some parchment paper on the cookie sheet.
Okay.
And basically what I'm going to do is just mix in the egg and the onion and the potato, just so that it's well mixed and well coated.
Okay.
That way we can make a really nice patty. And then it's super simple. Just grab it. Try not to manhandle it too much.
Okay.
But you want to make it so that it's nice and firm. So first you make it into a ball, and then press down on it, press it onto the sheet, and you're good.
That's it. Okay. So we're going to do 4 of those. We have enough for 4?
Yeah, so we're going to do 2 each, and I'll show you what the sweet potato one looks like.
Okay.
And again, you might want to add a little bit more egg to your sweet potato, just because there isn't as much liquid to it, and you want it to be able to hold together.
Okay, so a little bit more egg in the sweet potato so it can be held together.
Exactly. And there we go. So now we can just fry them up with some butter and a little bit of olive oil, because the oil boils at a higher temperature, and you want to cook these guys at about medium high on the first side so it gets them to stay together, and then flip them, and the second side will cook a lot faster.
There.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to have company here. So we've got our sweet potato and our white potato. So for the sweet potato, I'm just actually going to cut up a little bit of parsley for both of them, and just coarsely to drop on there. I have to, because this is how my grandmother used to make it, my babcha. So I mean, hey, I've got to pay homage to the original chef that taught me.
Absolutely.
So I've got my sweet potatoes, and I've got 2 medium eggs. And then I've got my pancetta as well. So I'm going to drop on some pancetta. You can use bacon, you can use back bacon, whatever you like.
Okay.
But it's nice. So you've got that sort of smokiness of the bacon or the pancetta against the sweet savoriness of the sweet potato.
Okay.
And then I'm going to drop on my egg.
Those look so fake. They look perfect. So they look, I was going to say, like, are those real eggs?
They are real. They are. And drop a little bit of parsley on there. So there's one. And then for the white potato, I'm going to be putting on some vodka-cured smoked salmon that I got from the St. Lawrence Market in Toronto.
Okay.
And so I'm going to add that on here. Nice to keep it local when you can.
Of course. I love that.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I love the vodka-cured. It's so good.
So, like, just sidebar, are they soaked in vodka?
It's just cured in vodka.
Okay, just checking.
It won't get you buzzing, but it just has a nice flavor to it.
Because I know you're the king of cocktails, too, on Gastro Guru, which we're going to talk about in a moment.
For sure. Well, I love to cook with alcohol, that's for sure. I've got some creme fraiche that I'm going to put on top.
Wow.
And then I've got some pea shoots. And some tobiko, so flying fish roe, that you normally see on sushi.
I had no idea what that is. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what that is. So it gives it a really nice burst of color, and it's salty, and it's got some nice crunch to it. And yeah, it just tastes awesome. It really brings everything together. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of parsley on top. And I hope somebody's going to enjoy these.
Yeah. Nice one, chef. Since we're doing another virtual episode, it's all you that's going to be eating these. You and maybe a friend while we're social distancing.
Exactly.
Well, they certainly look beautiful. I mean, Orlena told me, I wonder what Chef Jeremy's going to do, because she wasn't sure if you were going to go with the maple syrup, like with apples and make them sweet, but you made a savory. This is like a meal, pretty much.
It is. Any weekend or any day, because all the days seem like the same all the time. So
every day seems the same. So since you're doing so many things, and we saw that last week when we aired your episode, you were doing a Gastro Guru episode. Tell us about the next one.
So the next one that's airing is my duo of fried pizza. So I actually get the dough nice and thin. I fry it. Takes like 7 seconds aside. And then I did one with roasted vegetables, and the other one is with pancetta, red grapes, pistachios, and arugula. So keeping it kind of fun, and I paired it up with a really cool cocktail.
I love that idea of pizza. You get me every time. It's like I shouldn't even ask you a question because now I feel like I need pizza. So this is double fried pizza, both sides?
Yeah, you fry it and just roll it out nice and thin, put it into a pan of boiling oil, and it cooks like 7 seconds a side. Dress it, toss it in the oven for 2 minutes so it wicks away the oil and it gets really nice and crisp. And then yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I love pizza, so.
I mean, yeah, and like I love gluten-free, but I mean, I'll take it. So we can see this on your next episode of Gastro Guru Online.
You got it.
Thank you so much.